Hi everybody. In this episode of Weltrio Minute, we're going to talk about understanding insulin and glucose. Insulin is a hormone produced by the pancreas that tells our body that we need to store energy. It's a very important hormone, and it interacts with all of the cells via receptors. If you have a cell and there are little receptors, and the receptor says, hey, I need glucose over here, so insulin triggers the receptor and glucose goes into the cell. So insulin is super important for getting energy into the cell. Without insulin, we can't get energy into the cell, and we call it type 1 diabetes, where there's no insulin because of an autoimmune condition. And in that case, we have to inject insulin into the individual on a regular basis in order for them to get the energy that they need into the cell. Without that insulin, they would die. So where type 1 diabetes is a disease of not enough insulin, type 2 diabetes is actually a disease of too much insulin for too long, and for so long that the pancreas couldn't keep up with the demand and petered out, and then diabetes develops. So the glucose will be going on along just fine, and insulin will rise and rise and rise to try to keep that glucose at the homeostatic level. But after so much stress and so many the pancreas working for so long to maintain homeostatic glucose, at some point the pancreas can't keep up with the demand and the insulin drops. And when the insulin drops, glucose spikes. And that's where you get a diabetic who's like glucose goes to 200, 300, even higher, is because the pancreas just couldn't keep up anymore. And that's where type 2 diabetes begins to look like type 1 diabetes, but it is a very different genesis. What's interesting in that scenario is if I check somebody who is very healthy metabolically, young and flexible, their temperature is going to be 98.6, their blood sugar is going to be 80, and I'm going to check their fasting insulin, it's going to be between like 5 and 10. When I check somebody who's got less flexibility metabolically, and we know that it's breaking down some because of the other symptoms that are creeping up, blood pressure is increasing, waist circumference is increasing, cholesterol is increasing, HDL, the good cholesterol, is decreasing. We see all of these signs coming. I'm going to check their glucose, and it may very well be 80 milligrams or 82, 85 milligrams per deciliter, but their fasting insulin is going to be 30 or 40 or 50 or higher, because they have to produce more insulin to keep that blood sugar at that homeostatic level. It's working harder to maintain homeostasis. So with that in mind, glucose is not a very good indicator of what's going on metabolically until it's been going on so long that your body is sick. If we check fasting insulin, we could figure out long before, as it gets to, fasting insulin starts to rise, we can go, whoa, we're stressing the body. The things we are putting in our body are creating havoc, and our insulin has to overproduce to get our blood sugars to maintain that homeostatic 80 milligrams per deciliter, and it's not working. It's increasing. That one little gram of sugar is staying in the blood, and we're pre-diabetic, or 2 little grams of sugar are staying in the blood, and now we're diabetic. So checking insulin, or understanding how insulin works in the body even, can really be beneficial to preventing the problems that come along from when we do too much damage for too long. So at Weltrio, we really focus on identifying early warning signs. We can see this insulin resistance develop even without checking insulin, because we can look at other markers. Triglycerides increase, HDL comes down, your waist circumference increases, blood pressure increases. These are all indications that there is metabolic stress in the system, that we're not treating it nice, and the body's working way too hard to maintain the homeostasis of 80 milligrams per deciliter. So at Weltrio, we educate, we inform, we teach, we help you understand what's going on, how it develops, why it develops, what you can do about it. And we found that food is a powerful tool. I don't see any food as good or bad, but just a tool. And if you've been building your body, your house, with only a hammer, you're going to have some damage. You need to maybe put the hammer down and try using something else. And that something else can look like high fiber, nutrient dense foods that fuel the cells and don't stress out the body. So if you like this video, please make comments, subscribe, click like, and just remember, fuel smart, because your body deserves better.